All right, guys. First of all, congratulations to all of those who have cleared CA Foundation. You can clap for yourself. All right. Just a couple of minutes back, I said better that you're supposed to also maintain the discipline in the class. A few of them did not understand it as such, guys. Don't worry, I'll explain it better from tomorrow. हाँ, मेरी लकड़ी लेके नहीं आना मैं आज. हाँ, ठीक है, guys. Now, for a lot of you guys, this is the very first class of CA Intermediate. So the students who've already attended a couple of subjects, guys, that is group 1. Bear with me for a couple of minutes. I will have to explain to them about the entire CA Intermediate course, and then we will directly start off with the subject. So guys, just CA, a lot of you guys who've done with your group 1 also, I'm sure, might not know a couple of things. So your CA Intermediate, guys, is segregated. Backbenchers, is the voice clear? CA Intermediate, guys, is segregated into 6 subjects divided into 2 groups. There are 3 subjects in each group. Group 1 has accounting, there is law and taxation, both direct and indirect taxes. Group 2, guys, has cost and management accounting, there is auditing, and there is financial management and strategic management in a single paper. Each of these papers are for 100 marks. The passing criteria is exactly the same that you had in CA Foundation. You're supposed to score a minimum of 40 marks in each paper. Overall aggregate has to be 50%. If you write both the groups together, which you should, this is what we insist on, the aggregate of 50% will be for the combined score of both the groups. It will not be group wise. Meaning there is a possibility that a student scores 120 in group 1, let's say 40, 40 and 40, and they score 180 in group 2. The combined total is still 300, which is 50% of the overall aggregate required. You still clear both the groups. So if you write group wise, the aggregate of 50% applies group wise. Just say, let's say one student better writes group 1 in one attempt and they score about 155. They write another group in another attempt, but they score 145. The combined score is still 300, but then because a student has written this group wise, you will have to score 50% on an aggregate in that group, because a student did not score that aggregate of 150 beta in the second group. This will not be considered as passing the examination. The rule is very simple. If you write all the 6 papers collectively, the aggregate of 50% will apply for all the 6 papers, subject to a minimum of 40% in each paper. If you write group wise, even then the aggregate of 50% will apply to that group with the minimum of 40% in each paper. Now in CA Foundation, there was no concept of getting an exemption in a paper. In CA Intermediate, there's a concept of exemption. Even in CA Final, there's a concept of exemption. Exemption basically beta is you are not supposed to write a paper in the subsequent attempt in case you score more than 60 marks in a paper and someone still fails to clear that group. Let's say that they score 65 in paper 1, they score about 45 in paper 2, but in paper 3 as such beta they get 39. The combined total here as such beta is 100 and let's make this 46. The combined total is 150. But because in one paper the marking is less than 40, obviously guys, the student does not clear the group. In case you do not clear in any one paper, the rule is that you're supposed to write the entire group again. But if you score more than 60 in any one paper, you are exempted from writing that paper in the subsequent attempts for 3 attempts. We should not be thinking of a long-term game here. That is not what I'm trying to tell you. But a student, guys, is exempted from attempting that paper beta for the next 3 attempts. That does not mean we write paper wise. We study for one paper, we try to get 60 plus in that paper. We study for paper 2, we try to get 60 plus in paper 2. You think, ठीक है, 2 साल में we will write 3 attempts in each year. So over a period of 2 years, we'll clear all the 6 papers. The rule is, in case you get an exemption in 2 different attempts, you will have to decide which exemption will you carry forward in the next attempt. So if someone gets 60 plus in paper 1 in one attempt, someone gets, the same student but gets 60 plus in the second paper in the next attempt, that student will have to choose which paper does he like more as such better and is willing to attempt again. He cannot carry forward both the exemptions, because if they let students take this choice, they will all be writing paper wise. It will become like any other international course as such better, wherein you can attempt those examinations paper wise rather than writing all the groups, all the papers at once. Are we clear? So exemption, in case in a single attempt you get 60 plus in two papers, you're allowed to carry forward both the exemptions, as long as it is in a single attempt. In one attempt you get an exemption in one group, in another attempt you get an exemption in another group, you can carry forward because they are two separate groups. Are we clear? In the same group you cannot have paper wise as such better examinations written. What happens after 3 attempts? After 3 attempts, you can still convert that exemption into something called as a permanent exemption. I'll talk about all of this later also, guys. Just talking about the examination pattern, that is why. Permanent exemption agar convert kare beta, the rule is, matlab permanent exemption, matlab this exemption will apply for life. Alright. Your life, not someone whom you consider as life. So, the rule beta is after you convert, they're looking at each other. How sweet beta. Manvi and Khushi. The rule, guys, is that you will have to score a minimum of 50 in each of the remaining papers. It is not overall 50% in the remaining 2 papers. In each paper, you will have to score 50 marks in case someone converts that exemption into a permanent exemption. I really hope you do not worry about exemption. You do not worry about permanent exemption. All of this beta should not be important. Our aim as such, guys, should be to simply study for all the 6 papers, clear them all at once. And see, guys, whenever we talk about our result, just I've seen in a lot of foundation students, they say, sir, सिर्फ max में गया, बाकी सब में pass हो गया बोल के. And when I ask about the marks of the remaining papers as such, it'll be like 41 in this, 42 in this, 43 in this, 39 in math समझो. Even if you score 40 in math as such, guys, will that change the result? So let's stop considering, guys, 40% as the passing mark. Let's simply aim as such, guys, for those 70s and 80s in every paper, that even if there is a variance in what we prepare and what comes in the examination and what marks they give, we still end up scoring 50 plus in each of these papers. You should never consider 40 as the passing criteria. Are we clear about it? Please consider 60, 70 only as your passing criteria, guys. So for sure there's going to be a variance. Let's ensure that that variance is within that acceptable limit and we still end up scoring more than 50 marks in each paper. So this is about the examination passing criteria, guys. Every paper, doesn't matter whether it is a practical paper or a theoretical paper, is segregated into objective questions and subjective questions. There will be 30 marks of MCQs coming in every paper. Practical papers as such, guys, those MCQs are literally the standard questions that get converted into MCQs. The question that used to come as a subjective question before, they're converting the same question into an MCQ question. So there's nothing, no separate preparation as such, but that is required for an MCQ questions. But even then as such, guys, towards the end, we'll be doing all the past examination MCQs, all the MTPs, RTPs and everything, just to revise the entire subject again. I'll not be doing it chapter wise, I'll be doing it towards the end because it acts like a revision, guys. Spoken to a lot of past batch students, all of them think that doing MCQs towards the end only helps them in revising all the concepts quickly. So every paper, doesn't matter whether it's a practical paper or a theoretical paper as such, but there'll be 30 marks of MCQs and then there'll be 70 marks of subjective. The next doubt that students get, are we supposed to get a minimum of 40% in each category? मतलब बच्चों को ये लगता है that out of 70 marks we should get 40%, that is 28 marks. Out of अरे बच्चे कुछ भी सोच सकते हैं बेटा, बच्चे है ना. Out of 30 marks MCQs बेटा, they think that you'll have to again score 12 marks. It is not category wise as such, guys. You just have to score a minimum of 40 marks in the entire paper, which means you can get 30 marks in MCQs and you can get 10 marks as such better in the subjective part. Is it possible to get 30 on 30 in MCQ? कौन पहले से उम्मीद कैसे छोड़ते हो यार? How can you just, there's so many students as such, guys, who've scored 30 on 30 in MCQs. Everything is possible. The only thing that is required for that is studying. You study properly as such better right from day one. You have that discipline in you that you turn up for the classes. This is not like CA foundation, guys. Very, very important. You miss 1 days of class, you miss a topic altogether. 101%. There's so many small concepts that are covered in CA intermediate. The syllabus is not tough. It's vast. The way too many smaller concepts covered. Group 2 relatively smaller than Group 1. So the only thing that is required from your end is turning up every day as such, guys, and not missing classes. You have that discipline, you're ready to put in that effort as such, guys. And do not come for me. ये आ रहा रोज इसको हाँ शक्ल बताने के लिए that we are very serious about it. You're not doing it for me, guys. मेरी क्लास नहीं है, पीछे बैठेंगे, मेरी क्लास है, आगे बैठेंगे. क्या करना है बेटा? You're doing it for yourself. Are we clear? You're not doing it for anyone else. Because even when it is not my class as such, guys, I still have access to the cameras. Are we getting it, guys? So, what was I talking about? भूल गया मैं. ये बेवकूफ मेरे सामने ही है ये. इसके बारे में बात कर रहा था कहते हैं. 30 marks and 70 marks. All right. Now, it is mandatory that you all register for CA Intermediate with ICAI. There are a couple of great personalities as such, guys, who go and tell their parents that I did not register because I was not aware that we have to register. The explanation that they have better is they thought once you register for CA Foundation, it is valid for life. Whether you write CA Final, whether you write CA Intermediate, or whether you write CA Foundation. The registration was for CA Foundation. Now you will have to register for CA Intermediate. You will have to wait for 8 months after you register for CA Intermediate. Only then you're allowed to write the examination. There are a couple of great personalities, guys, who had a doubt if we can write group 1 now only, one group, and write another group later. Their doubt was, why should we wait? क्योंकि उनके घर वाले उनको बोले, if you become CA at the age of 20, they will get them married at the age of 20. Correct, beta Ayush? He's in a hurry to get married as such, and that is why he thought he will want to finish off the entire course as soon as possible. Were you the one who asked me a doubt of writing a group? I assume the background reason as such, guys, but I thought it was the obvious reason why he wanted to write these groups faster. सब fixed है. कितना आ रहा बेटा? अच्छा वो लोग नहीं है ना डवरी वाले, उनका हो गया ना? There are a couple of them better who are done with their classes, who were only interested in the total amount of dowry that they were going to get. And they were asking other students in the class to look for a girl who's willing to offer that amount. Anyways, guys, back to this, which means whoever has cleared CA Foundation now, your first attempt, you will be eligible to write your examinations only in September 2026, not before that. And for that also, you will have to register with ICAI on or before 31st of December 2025. Only if you register with ICAI for CA Intermediate on or before 31st December, you will be eligible to write your examinations in September 2026. Do not wait till 31st December. You can, register anytime now with ICAI. The ones obviously better who have already attended a group classes, you have already registered before 31st August and you will be eligible to write your examinations in the month of May 2026. Now, in case you write your examinations in September 2026 better, I was talking about the kids. 10 साल की उम्र में नहीं, थोड़ा कैलकुलेशन रॉन्ग है बेटा, pardon me. Alright guys, anyways, we'll talk about those numericals later, guys. In case the exams are conducted in September 2026, guys, the results of that can either come prior to 31st October 2026 or they come in the month of November. How is that important to you? In case the results are out before 31st October and you register for articleship prior to 31st October, you have to mandatorily serve an articleship period of 2 years, then wait for 6 months to write your CA final examination. The rule is very clear now. After you're done with your CA Intermediate, register for articleship, undergo an articleship of 2 years, mandatory study period of 6 months after the articleship gets over, and only then you're eligible to write your CA final examination. So in case the results are out before 31st October and you register for articleship also prior to 31st. That does not depend on you, that also depends on the firm that is hiring you. Okay, not necessary that the interviews are conducted in the same week. The probability of this is very less, guys, but let's just assume that the results are out and you register. Then your CA final examination beta will be in 27, 28, 29, May 2029. In case the results are out in November 2026, then 2 years of articleship plus 6 months. 2 years articleship beta will get over only in November 2028. 6 months from that date beta is not May. So that is why your attempt will be in September 2029. So that couple of days as such, guys, here and there is going to decide whether you're going to write your CA final examination in May 2029 or September. But most likely, guys, it is going to be September 2029 only. Okay, because they're declaring the results of CA Foundation, CA Intermediate and CA Final, all of them together. They first conduct CA Intermediate and CA Final exams. After that, they are conducting CA Foundation exams. So इसलिए थोड़ा बहुत delay हो रहा है. Their target is to release the results in a time frame of 35 to 40 days from the last examination date. But then that is still a task. So इसीलिए let's just assume that you'll be writing your CA Final exam in September 2029. This is for all of those who are starting classes now. Are we clear about this? The ones who are writing in May, guys, count the same period. If your results are out by 30th June or before that, then your examination as such, guys, also will be in Jan 2029. But if the results are not out before 30th June as such, guys, if they are out in the month of July, then it is going to be May 2029. But in case your results are out in the month of July and their results are out before 31st October, both of you will be writing your CA final examination together. Are we clear about this, guys? So this is about the entire course as such, better. Whether you're under direct entry scheme, whether you're under CA Foundation route, better, does not matter. The ones who are in direct entry route, that is without CA Foundation, your BCom results should be out before you fill your CA Intermediate exam form. It is mandatory that you convert your provisional registration into full registration, beta Disha. Huh? है कोई मेरे पीछे ही है ना मत जो भी है. So guys, it is mandatory that you convert your provisional registration into full registration. समझ में आ रहा है? And for that your BCom should be completed before you fill your examination form. अब ये है बेटा तुम्हारा CA का story. I will be taking up cost and management accounting and financial management in group 2. I forgot to tell my name, guys. Most of you know my name. I'm Rahul. नाम तो मेरे करना में भी सुनेगा बेटा तू अभी. All right, guys. So I will be taking up cost and management accounting, financial management in group 2 and advanced accounting in group 1. We will try to finish everything as such better before Jan 31st, and if the syllabus gets over by Jan 31st or thode din yahan wahan beta, doesn't matter. It will depend on how the classes are going. The ones who have exams in September as such, guys, you will have mock exams of these 3 papers in the month of Feb. Most likely we will follow the same pattern that we had in foundation. I will be waiting for 7-8 days. You will write mock in one paper, we'll wait for 7-8 days again, write mock in one paper, wait for 7-8 days again and write mock in another paper. The ones who have exams in May, guys, will also be writing this, and then you will have again mock of all the 6 papers later. तुम्हारे दूसरे classes शुरू हो जाएंगे तब तक. All right, let's start off with the paper, guys, that I'm supposed to be talking about today, which is cost and management accounting. We are all very excited, guys, because it's the very first day of the class. Just ensure that you keep this excitement alive till the last day of the class. What happens is after a couple of days you realize अरे ये रोज का सुबह उठना है, रोज क्लास जाना है, रोज होमवर्क दे रहा, वापस टेस्ट लगा रहा. That is what differentiates a such better between a disciplined student and others. If you are disciplined, for sure you will have to clear the examination. I say is making it very clear, beta तुम लिखो कुछ तो मैं पास करूँगा, पहले लिखो. That is their intent. They obviously want to clear people, but then they cannot just clear people because you filled the examination form and you went there and you sat for 3 hours and you came back. They will not be like, अरे आप जैसे लोग 3 घंटे हमारे पास आए, हमारे धन्य मतलब भाग्य है बोल के. It doesn't work like that, guys. You will have to put in a little effort, understand the concepts, write the examination. Papers are not difficult. Just be disciplined. I'm telling you this again and again, Asad Beta. Attend classes every single day. Revise on a daily basis. Party on the weekends. But for those 5-6 days, Asad Beta, during the week, study properly. If you do that, September walo, try to finish off entire group 2 preparation as such, guys, along with the classes itself. You will be saving a lot of time as such, guys, later. खत्म कर दो preparation अभी, and it is dead easy to finish off the entire preparation. ये मत सोचो याद रहेगा नहीं रहेगा बेटा, ऐसे तो do not study only. Wait till the last examination date as such, guys, and then start studying. And what is the guarantee then also whether you will remember or not in the examination? Even more better, do not write the examination. So, starting off with this paper, guys, cost and management accounting. What do you guys understand by cost and management accounting? तेरे फोन में नोटिफिकेशंस आते ना, अगर कोई मैसेज करा तो हाँ ठीक है. यस बेटा, मेरे फोन में नहीं आते इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ. कॉस्ट एंड मैनेजमेंट अकाउंटिंग, गाइस. जो भी सीरियस फेस लगा था उसको क्वेश्चंस पूछूंगा, गाइस. मैं डोंट फोर्सफुली स्माइल नाउ. वो बच्चे लास्ट में ही करना शुरू कर दिया यार. लास्ट सेकंड बेंच, व्हाट्स योर नेम? तू ही बेटा जो पलट रहा है. हाँ बाजू बाजू. हाँ Rutvik. Yes बेटा Rutvik. What is cost and management accounting? You started smiling all of a sudden, no? Yes. वो बीच में बेचारे सब डर रहे. कहाँ यहाँ देख रहा बोल के ये. Lavanya, I won't ask you questions. Wait. For another 2 minutes. Yes, Rutvik. Cost and management accounting. Others, guys. Anyone would want, guys, first class है बेटा. बोलो, कॉस्ट एंड मैनेजमेंट अकाउंटिंग क्या है? कॉस्ट क्या है? व्हाट इज कॉस्ट? अरे ब्रिटिशर इदेन बे स्टोरील చెప్తున్నానా? व्हाट इज कॉस्ट? प्रोडक्ट कॉस्ट एंड appropriating. I will pick up each word that comes out of your mouth, beta. Appropriating product cost. Ascertaining product cost. Very good, beta. What is product cost? Something that we sell in the market is called product cost. So if Tata sells a car, that car is called product cost. Either no sense on the bay. You will call the car as product cost. Ray. He'll answer. Selling cost. All right, guys, you're learning a lot today. So there is product cost, there is selling cost. Differentiate. Another word. Differentiate. Profit is? Ade. Even you know, I know. Done with costing. Indigalandi. Guys, product cost, selling cost, they're not the same. Profit is not included in selling cost. Selling price antarra danni. Ade entra. Selling word common unte ayipotada. First day stress lo unnava. All right, guys. Anyone else, guys? The one who knows the answer. How do you define cost? The amount of money that we put in to make a product as well as sell the product. Alright, when you refer to cost, you're talking about the total expenditure that you are incurring on a product. That will be to manufacture the product cost, and to also sell the product, that is selling cost. This total expenditure that you incur on any product, any service that you are rendering will also determine how much should be the money that you should be charging to the customers, selling price. And once you know how much is the amount of money that you're charging to the customers, you know what is the amount of expenditure that you're incurring on the product, you will also know what is the amount of profit that you are making. So when you say cost, I am not always talking about, cost of manufacturing a product. It can be any activity that the organization is undertaking. Just the other day I was reading an article on cement manufacturing companies. Better, most of the cement manufacturing companies have their own power plants because the amount of power consumption is huge. To ensure that there is timely, uninterrupted supply of power, instead of depending on other entities, they will want to manufacture, generate their own power. Wouldn't they want to know what is the cost of that power being generated? Yes or no? They will still have to take a decision whether it is better to manufacture, generate their own power, or should they simply procure power from an outside party. This is a decision which we often refer to as make or buy decision. Should you manufacture or should you simply buy it from outside? There are different components as such, guys, that are used in the manufacturing of cement. There are few components that they themselves manufacture. There are few components that they procure from outside. They will have to again decide whether it is to be manufactured or whether it should be procured. To decide whether it should be manufactured or whether it should be procured, should they have details of the expenditure that they're incurring? If you do not have the details of the total expenditure that you're incurring under both the alternatives, you will never be able to compare the alternatives only. Are you getting the point, guys? There are few US entities that will have their own back-end operations in India. They will have to decide whether it is beneficial for them to run their own operations in India or should they simply outsource it better to an external BPO. Again, for that, they should have details of all the expenses that they are incurring. So cost per se is very simple. The total expenditure that you're incurring on manufacturing and selling a product, or the total expenditure that you're incurring on rendering a service. It need not be a product. It need not be the end product that is being sold to the customer. It can be an intermediate product that you yourself are consuming. We call it as captive consumption. When I say captive consumption, it is something that you are manufacturing. It is something that you're rendering for your own use. Power captive consumption matlab you are generating power for your own use. You are not going to sell that power. Different story if there is surplus power being generated which you do not need, guys. Obviously, to make money out of it, you will be selling that surplus power. What will you do with that surplus power? It is better to sell it to an outside agency. So cost is nothing but the total expenditure that we incur on manufacturing a product. What do you understand by the word costing? Yes, guys. The steps we follow: ascertainment of cost. The process of ascertaining or determining the cost as such, guys, is called as costing. For which the records that you maintain, जो तुम लोग accounting का definition पढ़ते हो बेटा, do we all know the definition of accounting? क्या है accounting का definition? Art of recording, classifying. मे वाले बच्चे मुंह बंद करके बैठ रहे सर पूछो मत बोल के. Exact same definition as such, guys, is for cost accounting also. You will have to record, you will have to summarize, you will have to analyze as such, guys, and then apportion all of those costs. But the goal is not to ascertain the financial position of the organization. The goal is to ensure that you maintain cost records of an organization. The process of determining the cost is called as costing. Cost is nothing but the expenditure that you're incurring on a product. Why is this entire process so important and how is it relevant to us? See, guys, costing करके ये मतलब नहीं है that you will end up working in a factory and you will start determining the cost of a product. A major service line that most of the chartered accountants or MBAs get into is also consultancy. Consultancy में such बेटा there can be performance improvement consultancy that you undertake. To say one big consulting firm as such, guys, has undertaken a cost reduction program, cost control program for Lenskart. They were able to save only 110 crore rupees in the exercise that they did. The management was so happy with the consulting firm as such better that they asked them to again undertake another cost reduction program and see if they can save another 100 crore rupees. For you to know how to save costs, you should first know how to ascertain that cost. If you do not know how to ascertain those costs, you will never be able to work in the right direction. तुमको suggestion देना, you will obviously have to read the entire structure of the organization, see how the organization functions. But for that, you should also know how the cost is determined, ascertained. समझ में आ रहा है? There's another jewelry group as such बेटा that I hired a Hyderabad based consultancy firm. Their intent was to help them save an amount of about 10 crore rupees in cost. There are two ways of increasing profitability as such, guys. You either increase your revenues or you decrease your cost. They say, guys, वो है सुख में सुमिरन सब करे दुख में करे ना कोई बोल के. Likewise as such, guys, there is costing के लिए also. Anyone knows this? This was told by a very famous professor as such, guys, of an Indian university. It says losses में cost cutting हर कोई करे, profits में करे ना कोई. जो profits में cost cutting करे तो loss काहे होए. Understood? When an entity is facing profit pressures, guys, or they're incurring losses, this is where organizations start thinking about cost reduction, cost control. When they are making profits, when everything is going well as such, none of the entities concentrate on cost reduction, cost control. If they start concentrating on cost reduction, cost control at the time of making good amount of profits only, guys, then they never have to worry about losses. This is practically applicable for every single industry out there. Now, understood what is costing? Costing is ascertainment of cost. What do you understand by the word cost object? ये जो भी पढ़ा रहा हो guys, it is all as a part of the first chapter that we have, Introduction to Cost and Management Accounting. This comes as a theory question in the examination. They will randomly pick up few terms and give it in the examination. Theory also comes in the examination. Costing में अभी तक it comes as a standalone question. मतलब there will be one question dedicated entirely to theory. All right. Plus one question might come as a part of that fifth question. You will have 6 questions, question 1 to question 6 descriptive. Each question carries 14 marks. Question 1 will be mandatory. From question 2 to question 6 as such, guys, you will have to answer 4 questions of 14 marks each. That is how 70 marks, the total will come to 70 marks. Question 6 is all a theory question. Kabhi kabhi question 5 ka last bit also comes as a theory question. Yes, there is a possibility that we leave theory in choice, but that is not advisable, guys, because if there's a complicated practical question, you will have to fall back on theory only. So you do not decide, like I keep saying as such, as to which question should we be leaving in choice. Let them decide which question are you going to leave in choice. Coming to the next point, beta, here is cost object. What do you understand by cost object? Any idea? Cost object क्या है? हाँ, प्रिंसिपल्स टू बी कंसिडर्ड नहीं बेटा, कॉस्ट ऑब्जेक्ट की बात कर रहा हूं. व्हाट्स योर नेम? रौनक. दोस्त है तुम्हारा? यस गाइस, the end product or the end service for which the cost is being computed, guys, is called as a cost object. I'm computing cost for the power that I'm generating. Power is the cost object. You're computing cost of manufacturing and selling an iPhone. iPhone is the cost object. You're computing what is the cost that you're incurring in respect of an employee in the organization. That employee is the cost object. Can't we compute what is the effective cost that we are incurring in respect of each employee? Yes, then employee becomes a cost object. If you're computing what is the cost of providing transportation services to your own employees, the transportation service becomes the cost object. If you're computing what is the cost of providing food to your own employees, the cost of providing food will become your cost object. So cost object is any product, any service for which the cost is being determined, ascertained. That becomes the cost object. Are we clear about this? Now, if I say, guys, an iPhone sells for about $1,200, what do you think will be the cost of manufacturing an iPhone? कभी articles पढ़े इसके ऊपर या नहीं? हाँ, 80 to $100 is the cost of manufacturing iPhone. You've read this in news somewhere, or you're just guessing it? You've read it? Do you have access to different news? Matlab, which you don't remember where? Last I read, beta, is the total cost of components as such, guys, plus the cost of assembly somewhere works out to about $420 to $450. That's just the cost of components and the assembly cost. What happens in India is assembling as such, guys. We obviously do not manufacture, but then 20% of the value addition is happening in India as of now. That means if the total cost of export from India is $100, $20 is being added here in India. $80 is the cost of imports. That is still a significant improvement. We are targeting 30% by the end of next year, and gradually that percentage will only increase. But So when you say $420 to $450 is the cost of manufacturing a cell phone, guys, what we are referring to, most of us better come to this conclusion. You sit in a 5-star hotel as such, better you order, let's say, nariyal pani, coconut water. You know that the cost of that coconut water as such, better if you are sipping that on a street will be 50 rupees. Hayana, 60, 70 rupees as such, guys. But then that 5-star hotel is charging you 700 rupees for the same product. Now you will obviously think, why the hell am I paying so much? And you'll be like, kitna paisa kama rahe ye log? Something that is worth only 70 rupees is being sold at 700 rupees. क्योंकि वो बिल्डिंग तो उनको दहेज में आई होंगी. Forgot. डाउरी की बात कर रहे थे ना बेटा, याद है? हाँ. So they never incurred any expenditure on infrastructure, obviously. That building came in its, they had a shakalaka boom boom wali pencil, guys. The founder, promoter of the company was bored, he drew a building. आ गया 5-star hotel. So जमीन का डाउट आता, sir, from where did they get land? क्या होगा बेटा कुछ तो? It is, what I'm trying to tell you beta is, when people talk about iPhone also, they say that the operating margin, company operates at a profit of 70% on selling price. They barely incur $400 on manufacturing a cell phone, but in spite of that, they're selling it for $1,200. They're looting public by selling the product at such a high price. All that we are doing as such beta is only comparing manufacturing cost or the cost of buying that component with the selling price. Are there other expenses that an organization can incur? R&D. Apple incurs heavily on research and development. And if a product is being sold at $11.99, beta, $11.99 is not getting into the pocket of Apple. The selling commissions, distributor commissions as such beta throughout the supply chain works out to 25% of revenue. That means even if the product is being sold for $11.99, Apple might not be receiving more than $850 to $900. Usme their advertisement expenditure is also involved, their R&D expenditure is involved, their corporate head office expenditure is involved, administrative expenses are involved. See, if the company was actually making a profit of 70%, you should open their profitability statements and check what is the net profit as a percentage of sales. If they're making a profit of 70%, that ratio net of tax will be somewhere around 45-40%. Are you getting the point, guys, here? If you compare the cost of that coconut water, 70 rupees, with the selling price of 700 and say they're charging a markup of 630 rupees, that's about 90% on selling price or 900% on cost. All right. Who will recover their administrative cost? The amount of rent that they incur on a monthly basis as such, guys, depending on the size of the operations, can be somewhere between 20 to 100 crores. That is the amount of rent that they pay every month. This does not even include the cost of salaries as such, guys, the cost of maintaining the property and the electricity expenses that they have to incur and the regular renovation expenditure that they will have to incur. Just because you're paying 700 as such beta, that does not mean 700 is directly going into the pocket of the promoters. Are there other expenses that we incur? This is what is the importance of costing. When you say cost of a product, when you buy some product as such beta, kuch kharidte ho, let's say you buy a pizza as such beta for 400 rupees, we do not think twice before passing the comment that isme kya to lagaunga. Paneer 10 rupees ka upar, cheese 5 rupees ka, sabjiyan 5 rupees ki, base 5 rupees ka, 40 rupees on a higher side. He's selling it for 400 rupees. Are we factoring in all the expenses or are we taking only the material component? It's a very, very common tendency of the consumers as such better to compare the material component cost with the selling price of the product. There is an agarbatti that is sold for 10 rupees. There's an agarbatti that is also sold for 200 rupees. If you compare their material component as such, guys, the cost might not be huge difference. But there's one company that is incurring heavily on branding, heavily on brand promotion, advertisement. That is why they want to charge a higher price from the products. That is their strategy. You do not want to buy, you do not buy. Simple. So when you say costing, please understand it is not just the cost that you are incurring on material or on manufacturing the product. There are a lot of other expenses. One wise person in the class spoke about product cost, selling cost. Remember, guys. So there is manufacturing cost that you incur on a product. Plus there is selling general administration cost also. SG&A bolte hai beta, practically markets mein. It's a huge component of the overall cost that the organizations incur. Are we clear about this, guys? So when you say cost, we are not referring to only manufacturing cost. Though it's a different story that majority of the chapters that we have in our syllabus, guys, will be concentrating on arriving at the manufacturing cost of the product. We will not be learning much about selling expenses or administration expenses. There will be few chapters dedicated to that as well. Majority of the chapters will concentrate on manufacturing cost. Manufacturing cost identify karna is also not very simple, guys. Let's say you talk about a company like Mahindra and Mahindra, or you talk about a company like Tata. Do they manufacture only one car? There are multiple models that are manufactured. For each of those models, are there variants? Undoubtedly there are variants as such, guys. There might be a fully automatic version, usme bhi beta ye alag features that they keep increasing from the base model. Will the cost of each car be same, or will the cost of each car be different? Undoubtedly the cost of each component or the cost of each car as such beta will be different. How do you think they determine what is the cost of each car, guys? Total expenditure incurred in the month divided by number of cars manufactured. Whether it is, the base model, whether it is the higher end model, who cares about it? Simply divide. It's like this. 5 people go to a restaurant as such, guys. One does not eat anything. वो खाना देखे तो उसका पेट भर जाएगा बेटा. And let's say beta one eats normally, the other persons as such, guys, they know that everyone is sharing the bill. ठीक है? Because everyone is sharing the bill, it is your day. You have to eat like you've never eaten in your life. Because part of the food that you are consuming, someone else is paying for it. Relatable? Let's say, guys, these 5 people go to a restaurant, the total bill comes to 5,000 rupees as such, guys. Obviously, simple calculation. How will you divide the bill? 5,000 divided by 5 people, 1,000 rupees each person. That one person, beta, who did not eat anything as such, guys, or let's say he ate a little as such, guys. Don't you think he will be getting those second thoughts, ये group के साथ वापस बाहर आऊँ क्या मैं बोल के? He cannot say, no, I will not pay. Or besharam hai to maybe, guys, you will say, no, I am not paying because I did not eat anything as such. What do you think should be a more justifiable way of allocating that expenditure? Huh? Wait. This is a standard example that I talk about better to understand the importance of costing. Someone has watched the demo class on YouTube already. Huh. A class, if you want the most accurate way as such, guys, of allocating, is carry a weighing machine with you. When you're serving as such, guys, weigh how much is the. अब ये मत बोलना सर उसमें अगर पनीर के पीसेस किसी को ज़्यादा आ गए और ये कम हो गया तो. I would have given other examples also better, but I'm a vegetarian. So, are you understanding? Or let's say बेटा उसमें से एक बेवड़ा है. Even more better example. वो बेवड़ा पीते जा रहा है because he knows that all of his drinks will be divided by 5 people. Do you really think बेटा justifiable way of dividing the bill is to simply divide it by 5? No. थोड़े लोग क्या करते हैं बेटा ग्रुप्स में, what you commonly see is food bill they will divide by the number of people who are eating the food. Drinks bill they will divide it by the number of drunkards in the group. Do you think that is a little better way of allocating? Let's say beta there were 3 drunkards in the group, out of which one is a heavy drinker, one is a kid. So one person beta had only 1 drink, the other person beta had 10 drinks. Do you still think the drinks bill should be divided by 3 people? If you want to ask about what should be the most accurate allocation as such beta, you'll be like sab alag order karo be. Make a note of who's ordering what as such. In the end we will divide the bill in that ratio. Yes or no? Most justifiable, most appropriate way of allocating the bill. But that usually does not happen as such beta, because you're living in India, we know how to share food. See, if you're someone who's dining in a European restaurant as such beta, you will not want to share food because the waiters will give you a dirty look. वहाँ पे sharing का concept नहीं है. मतलब imagine I'm sitting with my own wife. It's not like I'm sitting with someone else. If I tell the waiter that I want a pizza, he'll look at my wife and ask, "आप क्या लोगे? मतलब what will you want to have?" He'll be like, "No, we are sharing. No, obviously, who will eat the entire pizza?" They give you that looks because no one shares food there as such beta. But अपन क्या करते बेटा, इस वेटर को बुलाते, तू सब बीच में रख, हम देख लेते. You do not serve. We'll take care of the process. So in case beta you're ordering food and everyone is sharing the food, then comes the concept of weighing machine. You weigh, guys, how much is the food that is being eaten by everyone. Take the cost of each item separately as such beta and then divide it in that ratio. Will that become the most accurate allocation? But you will not want to do that in a group of friends. Okay? It all depends on the category of friends that you're talking about as such beta. There can be one category of friends that says, "Hey, bhaad mein kya pe division? I'm paying this time, you pay next time." क्या सर धोना कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे, ठीक है? They do not even care if one time the bill is 1,000 rupees, next time the bill is 4,000. The next one says, ठीक है, it is my chance, I'll pay, get done with it. They will not bother about who's paying what. Then there is another category of friends who will want to divide each and every item. Can companies say we will simply divide it by the number of products? क्या सर for अरे तू कौन सा बड़ा मॉडल तू कौन सा छोटा मॉडल? Everyone will have the same cost. Can you do that, guys? You cannot do that. There are few expenses that you can directly relate with the product. There are few expenses that you will never be able to directly relate with the product. Concentrate on the class. So, when you say, guys, the cost of manufacturing an iPhone, you will know what is the cost of the display screen, you will know what is the cost of that camera unit, what is the cost of the body as such, what is the cost of battery that has went in the manufacturing. But can there be common expenses, guys? Pen se khelna band karo beta. Can there be common expenses that are incurred? Let's say factory rent. You've incurred a factory rent of 500 crore rupees. That is not for one product, that is obviously for all the products. Shouldn't you know how to allocate this factory rent to all the products? This depreciation of machinery as such, guys, shouldn't you want to know how to allocate this expenditure to all the products? There is power consumption. Will you incur power separately for each product? Obvious, yes. Meter wise लगाओ बट एक machine को meter लगाओ अलग. Are you getting? There are many expenses that are commonly incurred. This factory security as such, beta. Will you still have to allocate that expenditure to all the products? May not be directly related to the product, but isn't that an expenditure that you're still incurring? So you will have to allocate all of these expenses to the multiple products that you are manufacturing. That is why costing requires skill. If it was so easy, why study it as a separate subject, guys? Just include that in some other branch of accounting, get done with it there only. There are few expenses that are directly related. There are few expenses that are or commonly incurred as such, guys, for multiple products. Costing is more about identifying how are you allocating those common expenses among different products that you are manufacturing. Directly related expenses, no one will have a problem in identifying for which product are you incurring the cost. Problem will only be in common expenses that are being incurred, guys, for multiple products. Are we all clear about this? समझ में आ रहा है what is the importance of costing, guys? Now, there is something called as cost unit. What do you understand by cost unit? हाँ, या तो कंप्लीट कर सेंटेंस या तो स्टार्टिंग से मुंह बंद करके बैठ. पर यूनिट कॉस्ट इज कॉस्ट यूनिट. ऑल राइट गाइस, यूनिट कॉस्ट दोनों अलग है. यूनिट कॉस्ट इज पर यूनिट कॉस्ट. You're all attending it for the first time, but it's okay. Take a guess. Unit cost, what is the cost that you're incurring on a per unit basis? Cost unit is the unit of measurement. How are you going to define cost? In what unit are you going to define cost? You talk about cement, guys, you will talk about cost per ton, you will talk about cost per bag. Usually they talk about cost per bag of 50 kgs. Yes or no, or 25 kgs, जो भी है बेटा. 30 kgs. जरा 2 minute, जो भी है बेटा, relax. If you talk about a car as such, guys, you talk about cost per unit. You will not talk about cost per kg. Will you measure the car as such, guys, in terms of total kgs and then start describing the price? No. If you talk about a fruit as such, guys, it can be cost per kg or it can be cost per dozen or cost per piece also. So the unit of measurement in which you're defining the cost is called as your cost unit. Sometimes you may have only one cost unit, sometimes you may have a combination of two cost units. उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं simple cost unit and a composite cost unit. A simple cost unit is where there is only a single unit of measurement. Cost per car, there's only one unit of measurement. Cost per kg, there's only one unit of measurement. In case you want to, let's say beta, ship goods from here to some other state in India as such, guys, the amount of money that they will be charging from you will depend on the weight of the product. Yes or no? And the distance, of course. कितना दूर भेज रहे हो? Let's say, guys, that he wants to send 1 kg apple as such, beta, he wants to send 1 kg thermocol. What will have a higher volume, guys? Thermocol. Do you think it is fair on the part of the company to charge the same amount of money from both of them? लॉरी तो proportionately size में नहीं बढ़ेगी ना. If you put thermocol in it, अरे हल्का product आ रहा है, let's increase the size बोल के. Will that happen? When you fly in an aircraft as such, guys, there is weight restriction. The amount of luggage that you can carry. That does not mean you carry 23 kgs of thermocol and tell them, you said 23 kgs, I am bringing 23 kgs. बाहर लॉरी खड़ी सो लेके अंदर होल के. Can you do that? 23 kgs of thermocol मतलब बेटा लॉरी. Literally. Can you carry 23 kgs? Isn't space a constraint? That is why they charge based on volumetric weight. the volume of the product, the weight of the product, the distance for which it is to be shipped. All the three will be considered as such, guys, to determine how much money is to be charged from the customer. When they say that you can carry 23 kgs as such, guys, you also specify bag specifications. It says normally it should not exceed. Thoda bahut here and there, they will not mind as such, guys. When they say cabin luggage, there are specific restrictions. Are we clear? Why? The volume is also important. There's no unlimited space there as such, that you can dump in whatever you want. Are we not using multiple units of measurements here? Volume is being considered, weight is being considered. They consider, guys, cubic meter kg. मतलब higher transportation. छोटे अगर है तो बेटा it will be cubic centimeters. Volume के लिए cubic centimeters, and then weight के लिए, guys, kgs or whatever is the unit of measurement. They will also take distance. When you talk about the cost that a metro should charge as such, guys, they do not just consider the distance. They also consider how many passengers are going to use on an average metro. So they take both passengers as well as the distance. There are two units of measurement. That is why whenever we talk about cost in respect of a transportation industry, we say cost per passenger per kilometer. If there are 1,000 passengers traveling for 1 kilometer, it is equivalent to 1,000 passenger kilometers. 1,000 passengers traveling for 2 kilometers. 1,000 into 2,000 passenger kilometers. One passenger may travel for 5 kilometers, one passenger may travel for 20 kilometers, one passenger may travel for 40 kilometers. Shouldn't they charge different amount of fare from all of these people? Definitely yes. They take two units of measurements into consideration. You talk about railways, again passenger kilometers. So whenever there's a combination of two or more cost units, it will be called as a composite cost unit. If there's a single cost unit that is being used to measure cost, it will be a simple cost unit. Very common question that comes in the examination. They will give you a list of industries, ask you to identify the cost unit for it. We will learn that gradually with all the chapters. Once we are done with all the chapters, we will also know how to determine the cost unit. Are we understanding this, guys? Just a hospital mein beta, it is not just per patient. It will be per patient, simple cost unit if it is outpatient. You just go there as such beta for consultation. That is outpatient. Inpatient, when a patient is admitted, it will be cost per patient per room, or it will be per room, per bed per patient. They say there are sharing rooms as such, guys, in which there are 2 beds. So they calculate it as cost per bed per day. If it is a single room as such, guys, with just a single bed, it will be cost per room per day. It's again a combination of 2 cost units. Are we clear about this? Yes or no, guys? That is called as what? Composite cost unit. Any doubt in this? I've covered as to what is cost, what is costing, what is cost object. I also told you what is cost accounting. Bola tha kya? It's exactly the same. Alright, guys. There are 3 branches of accounting called as cost. Starting mein bola tha beta, but फिर भी वापस बोल रहा हूँ. I told you, no, it is exactly the same as financial accounting that you have learned, except that there the objective was to maintain financial records for determining financial position. Cost accounting, guys, is also recording, classifying, summarizing, analyzing the entire data, but with an objective of ascertainment of cost. For the purpose of maintaining cost records, so that you can ascertain cost and you can also, take decisions. समझ में आ रहा है? Yes or no, guys? Wallet मिल गया बेटा? Wallet मिल गया? किसका वॉलेट गया था? तेरा गया था. स्पीकर पे क्यों बात करता है बाहर बैठ के वहां पे? हाँ, स्ट्रेस में था. मिला या नहीं मिला? मिलेगा. पैसे ज्यादा थे अंदर या इतना ऑप्टिमिज्म रहना बेटा जिंदगी में बस है. ऑलराइट गाइस, this cost accounting, financial accounting, and then there is management accounting. What is the name of the paper? Cost and all right. Yes, guys. Can you tell me what is cost accounting? Acha, I already told you what is cost accounting. Did I tell you what is financial accounting also? Problem. हाँ बोले तो question पूछता, ना बोले तो भी question पूछता. What should we say? Financial accounting, guys, is again recording, classifying, जो भी है बेटा, with an objective of determining the financial position. What is management accounting? For the management of the organization. Huh? Can you show your face to everyone, beta? Guys, not every definition, guys, is sandhi vichhed. Are we clear about it? You pick up the word, you divide the word into 2 parts as such, beta. You define the first word separately, you define the second word separately. हो गया management accounting. So, what exactly is for management? You maintain a record of who's the top management of the organization. Then correct. जूते खाएगा बेटा तो. Find out the most. She's already started studying for her BCom, guys. So, अरे, है ना BCom? But you started studying, no? Did you cover management accounting definition there? Some part of it you've covered, and that some part says for अरे, क्या है वो? What did you learn? Financial management class post break. I'm not talking about financial management. I'm talking about management accounting. You didn't learn this. Acha, you were still answering. Bol. To find out the most efficient way of operating is management accounting. Can anyone else answer? Vansh. हाँ, ये भी दोस्त है. चुप बैठो ना यार, अभी अभी तो क्लासेस शुरू हुए. हाँ, यस गाइस, तुम लोग ऐसे स्माइल मत करो. अरे वो मेरी तरफ देख रहा है बोल के. कोई रिश्ता लेके नहीं आ रहा हूँ बेटा, क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा हूँ. एनीवन गाइस? अरे मैनेजमेंट शेषा प्रणति. No idea. Yes, guys, can anyone answer as to what is management accounting? Who's answering? Yes, beta. Management accounting is made so that used for decision making of internal management. What is external management? Top level is internal management. अरे यार, अरे बस कर तू, आगे का बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है. इग्नोर कर दिया मैं. हाँ, ऑल राइट गाइस. Any use of information, guys, for the purpose of decision making is simply management accounting. So the cost records that you maintain, the financial records that you maintain as such, guys, the end goal of that is not just to ascertain financial position, it is also to assess the management for the purpose of decision making. You have maintained all the cost records. I told you a couple of minutes before, if there's a decision to be taken whether you will have to generate your own power or procure the power from someone else, that's management accounting. But to take that decision, you will have to maintain cost records, and that is given by cost accounting. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? Financial accounting and cost accounting will help us in maintenance of records, and that maintenance of records as such will also help us in decision making. And that decision making wala part becomes your management accounting. It is not just cost records and financial records, it will also be the internal budgets that you prepare. Even that will be used for the purpose of decision. Any use of information for the purpose of decision making is management accounting. Management accounting is for internal use, not for internal. Just telling you, financial accounting as such, guys, is for both internal and external. You maintain all the financial statements so that you can, submit that information, guys, to all the stakeholders of the organization. Cost accounting majorly for internal use, but then there are many organizations that are required to submit cost audit reports with the government, so that also becomes external use. Management accounting is purely and purely for internal use. Decision making as such, guys, is not something that you randomly give out the information to external stakeholders. That is where we say it is for internal use. Internal use of whom? Internal use of management. Use of na kodao beech mein. Internal management mat bolo. There is no external management. That is why I'm telling you. Are we clear about this? Any doubt in this, guys? समझ में आ गया ये part? So understood all the three branches as such, guys, of accounting. You have cost accounting, you have financial accounting, and management accounting. Now, what is the importance as such, guys, of cost accounting? नहीं, पूरा नहीं बताता हूँ. किसी के पास materials नहीं है ना? Very good, guys. What is the importance of cost accounting, or what is the objective of cost accounting? How is cost accounting relevant? We can reduce the wastage cost. Understood. Huh? We can determine the cost first. First point, guys, here. नीचे देख रहे बच्चों, ऊपर मत देखो, नीचे आंसर. अरे दिख रहा साहब अभी. The first point, guys, undoubtedly objectives of cost accounting, or why cost accounting is important, is ascertainment of cost. Very well, guys. The whole purpose of maintaining cost records is so that you can determine the cost of a product. Once the cost is determined as such, guys, what next? You determine selling price. I know you guys are very smart, beta. You've already looked at the data. Huh? The selling price of a product over a longer period, guys, is always based on the cost that you incur on a product. Over a shorter period, it is market determined. You learn this as a part of economics. Competition in the market will determine what is the price at which the product should be sold. But over a longer period as such, guys, if that price is not sustainable, guys, there will be few entities incurring losses who will get driven out of the market. Then the market will consolidate. There will only be few players left who will now start determining the selling price. They will base the selling price on the cost of the product and not simply based on the market forces. Over a longer period, price will move to its equilibrium position. Shorter period, there can be distortions better, or there can be movements away from that equilibrium price. When companies started selling electric vehicles first, they did not mind selling that at a loss. The objective was not to base selling price on the cost that they were incurring. The objective, guys, was to ensure that the vehicles are seen on the market. Tata Vehicles won a contract of 10,000 vehicles or something better with the government. The price they quoted to the government back then as such, guys, was something at which Mahindra thought it is not possible only to operate. We will be incurring losses. Tata said, who wants to make profit? Our goal is to ensure that the vehicles are seen on the streets. If there are 10,000 vehicles being supplied, that means every individual will start looking at those vehicles on the road as such better. Don't you think that will improve the brand perception? They say this is our marketing expenditure. We are ready to incur losses on it. But over a longer period, the pricing of the product will definitely be based on cost. Just say Indian telecom sector as such better. It was not viable as such for them to operate at those levels of 2,000 rupees per year recharges and all of that. Now we have seen over the last 1.5 years that the prices have slowly shifted to 3,600, 3,900 a year recharge. The average revenue per user for the telecom sector has to be in the range of 270 to 300 rupees. Only then it is viable for them to spend heavily on technology. You want better technology, you want better services, the companies will also have to generate a higher amount of profit. We are the cheapest when it comes to telecom. No one can beat. The cost of 1 GB data is less than a rupee. Just not comparable as such beta with the other global players in the world. But the revenues of the organization should also increase. That is why beta now Jio is operating at an average revenue per user of 211 rupees, Airtel at 230 or something. That will gradually still increase. It cannot stop at a level of 211, 212 as such, guys. They will see what value added services can be offered and the revenue per user can be increased. So you have to determine the cost so that you can fix your selling price and determine profitability. Few organizations, guys, work in a reverse way. There's something called as target costing. Kabhi sune? Target costing mein beta, you first determine what is the price that the customer is willing to pay. That is called as target selling price. See what is that the customer is looking for in the product, what is the price that the customer will be willing to pay for that product. Then see how much is the amount of investment required and what profits should you be making to sustain your operations. Deduct that profit from the target selling price, and this is the cost at which you should be operating. Then you will ask your engineering team as such better to make changes in the product and see that the actual cost is as close as possible to the target cost. Are we understanding this? So all right, guys, objectives of cost accounting is to ascertain cost, is then better is to determine the selling price and profitability. Next, guys, optimum utilization of resources. When you say optimum utilization of resources, what do you understand by it? Decision making. I would simply say, if you know which product is more profitable, guys, or if you know if resources are allocated to which product will you be able to make a higher amount of profit, you will definitely would want to allocate resources to that product only. It's like you selecting a question in the examination, guys. If the time is limited and you know that the paper is way too lengthy and it is not possible for you to attempt the entire paper, that's not going to happen. Just as an example, will you pick up few questions? You do not have sufficient time to attempt the entire paper. Are we clear about this? Obviously, you will not be able to answer all the questions. You will have to decide which question should be left, which questions are to be answered. How do we make that decision? क्या आता है? First, shouldn't we take the decision on the basis of what we know, guys? First, all right. Let us assume, guys, that we have prepared everything. We know everything. Yes. Next, marks and X. What is important is time here. So optimum allocation of time. If I spend 1 minute on this question, if I spend 1 minute on that question, how many marks am I going to score? There's a question of 8 marks that is going to take me 20 minutes. There's a question of 7 marks that is going to take me only 7 minutes. Obviously, I will try to answer that 7 marks question first, because for every minute that I spend on that question, I'm going to get 1 mark. On the other question, guys, I might not even get 0.25 marks. Are you getting the point, guys? Optimum allocation. For that optimum allocation of resources, guys, of a decision making, shouldn't you first know what is the profit of existing products? For that, you should know what is the cost that you are incurring on the existing product. So yes, optimum allocation of resources. Next. Miss control. Yes, someone spoke about that better. Yes, decision regarding continuing or discontinuing. See guys, ये जो decision making है, it can be applied to a vast majority of things. अब हर जगह, wherever you have to take a decision whether you want to continue or discontinue a specific operation as such, guys, for that you will again need to know what are the costs that you are incurring. So any kind of decision making, yes, cost accounting is relevant. It is important. Anything else? Controlling. Adi chappu manchiga. He says control and how did you answer it in the order, Ray? All right, guys. Because you started with cost control and cost reduction, can you differentiate the two? Just having fun, guys. Cost control and cost reduction. Yes, Rachit. तेको नहीं हाँ जो भी बोला बहुत अच्छा बोला बेटा, समझ में नहीं आया बस. And you stop laughing when he's answering. रीत, అరే సిగ్గుందరా మీకు గాడిదలకి? మీ ఫ్రెండ్ నవ్వలేదా ఇప్పుడు? Anyone else, guys, as to what is cost control? क्या नमूने बाप ये बच्चे. हाँ हाँ एक्सेलेंट आंसर. थोड़ा रिफाइन कर सकता है क्या? परफेक्ट है. बोल थोड़ा बेटर वे में. नहीं, लैंग्वेज बेटा चलता, हिंदी कुछ भी, तेलुगु तमिल नहीं आती मेरे को. वैसे भी जो बोल रहे क्या समझ में आ रहा, बोलो जो बोलना है बोलो. मार खाएगा तू अभी. तू भाषा के बारे में पूछ रहा है या आंसर? दोनों बेटा. Anyone else, guys? He'll take time to think about the answer. The two different concepts. I want you to tell me the difference between cost control and cost reduction. Stop it there only. See guys, it doesn't matter whether you're एक second, sorry to interrupt. It doesn't matter whether the answer is right or wrong. What is important is that you talk, that you answer. Are we clear? ज़्यादा important है बेटा. It helps to build your confidence also. Yes. That is control. And reduction? नहीं मालूम है. Perfect answer. What Ayush said is perfect as such, guys. What she said is also correct regarding cost control. Under cost control as such, guys, there are two things, guys. You have set a standard that you're supposed to manufacture a product at a specific amount. Let's say that Apple has fixed that the product has to be manufactured at a cost of $450. The actuals can differ. There can be a deviation as such, guys, that can occur. Usually that does not happen with a company, like Apple, because they have long-term supplier agreements. Whether it is assembly cost, whether it is the cost of supplying materials, everything is predetermined. Everything is already fixed by the agreements that they have with the supplier, but not every company beta will have those agreements. Is there a possibility that the actual cost can differ? So cost control beta is you trying to stick to the target. In simple language, you have set a target that you're going to study for 8 hours in a day, or you will finish topic 1 on a particular day. You trying to stick to that target of finishing the topic on that day as such beta is cost control. Cost reduction is questioning the target, seeing how can the target be improvised. You have fixed a target of $450. What is the guarantee that that is the most optimum level? Isn't there an improvement possible? So questioning the target itself comes under cost reduction. Do not use this language in the examination. It is for our understanding as such, guys. So that is why I said whatever he told is perfectly correct. Cost reduction involves brainstorming, seeing how can you improvise things. जैसे many companies as such beta undertake this either at the design phase or at the production phase. At the design phase, they will want to see what alternative materials can be used or how the design of the product be simplified. If the design of a product is simple, assembly is faster. If assembly is faster, assembling cost is significantly less. There were days as such, guys, when a manufacturing assembly of a car used to take about 24 hours. Then there came a manufacturing company beta that introduced a revolving assembly line as such beta, and they brought it down to 60 minutes. Then came this MI as such beta that implemented all the robos as such, guys, and they claim that they can assemble a car in about 1 to 2 minutes. So by reducing the time that is required to assemble a product as such beta, you are reducing your cost significantly. Are you not reducing your cost there? And that is possible only if the design of the product is simpler. That is why every cell phone manufacturing company as such beta works on simplifying the design. एक time था beta, but the design of the product was so complicated as such, guys. Over time, they've tried to simplify the design without compromising on the value that the consumer will derive out of the product. All right, cost reduce करना है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है बेटा पेट्रोल की जगह केरोसिन डाल दो. And you are arguing, no sir, you only said no that we have to reduce cost. That is why instead of using petrol, we'll start using kerosene from today. That is not the answer, guys. What ethanol blending जो government कर रहा है बेटा, that is a basic example of cost reduction. We have to reduce our import bill. To reduce import bill, they want to mix ethanol in the crude oil to manufacture petrol. By doing that as such beta, 20% of the import bill has been reduced. More foreign exchange reserves for the country itself. Are you getting the point here? Cost control क्या है दूसरी जगह? There is already a target that has been set by the organization as such beta. All that you're trying to do is trying to stick to the target. But the problem with cost control beta is that it can have an adverse impact on the quality of the product. When I say it can have an adverse impact on the quality of the product, because you want to stick to those targets as such beta, you might use an inferior quality material. Let's say that the organization told you that you will have to manufacture the product at a cost of 400 rupees. Now, that is possible. Instead of, say, the employees are taking 20 minutes to manufacture the product, but you want them to manufacture in 15 minutes only. You ask them to manufacture faster. Under that pressure as such, guys, they end up making mistakes. Possible. They manufacture more defective products. The quality of the product is no longer matching the requisite requirements. Instead of buying quality A material, you bought quality B material. क्यों करे वो? Again, in order to reduce the cost of the product, try to stick to those targets. So cost control can have an adverse impact on the quality of the product. Cost reduction, the objective is very clear. Value creation. You reduce cost without compromising on the value that the customer is deriving out of it. So this is why under cost reduction, we divide the overall activities of the organization into two categories. Value added activities and non-value added activities. जैसे Toyota beta, I might have spoken about this in CA Foundation also. Toyota undertakes something called as video recording of the entire manufacturing process. There is a dedicated team that sits and watches all the steps again and again. And they try to come up with new ideas as to how this time can be reduced. जैसे they shifted to U-shaped manufacturing cells. In U-shaped manufacturing cells, a single operator can handle about 4 to 5 machines, rather than a manufacturing beta which is where the machines are held in a straight line. यहाँ पे beta, if the person is operating on this, it will be difficult for him to move all the way till here. But if it's a U-shaped manufacturing cell, can you simply operate all the 4 machines simultaneously? Yes. Majority of the manufacturing process, beta, these days you just have to input into the equipment, beta. The equipment undertakes the manufacturing process. When the operations are automated, they prefer having this U-shaped manufacturing cells. Toyota again follows something called as just-in-time manufacturing system, JIT. JIT is an example of cost reduction. They will buy raw material only when it is required. They will not store raw material. By not storing raw material, their investment is reduced. If their investment is reduced, their borrowing cost is reduced. Matlab, their data is shared on a real-time basis with all the suppliers. The suppliers know when are you manufacturing which product. They will deliver the product directly to your production floor. There is no stores only. Okay? And as soon as the product is manufactured, it will be delivered. You do not store finished product, you do not store raw material. By doing this, guys, they are cutting down on the amount of investment. They do not have to store finished goods, they do not have to store raw material. Plus, employees are trained to manufacture the perfect quality product in the first time only. If you have to stick to those delivery schedules, you will have to ensure that you do not make a mistake. Because if there is a mistake in the manufacturing process, you will have to redo the entire product. The quality of the product is also higher under just-in-time. That's a cost reduction technique and not a cost control technique. I was talking about design phase and production phase, but organizations divide their activities into value-added and non-value-added activities. They will try to eliminate all the non-value-added activities. Anything that is not adding value to the end consumer, remove it. Anything that is adding value to the end customer, retain it, but see how can you improvise that. How can that value-added activity be performed in a better way? Are we clear about this? Who will be most appropriate, to take decisions on this? The people who are actually involved in the manufacturing process. So suggestions, major suggestions come from them. Many manufacturing organizations have this employee suggestion scheme. Every employee is encouraged to come up with new ideas of reducing the cost of the product. Whoever suggestion is accepted, they will also be given a bonus, higher amount of bonus. Toyota apparently receives about 1 lakh suggestions a year from their own employees. समझ में आ रहा नहीं? Kaizen बोल के वर्ड सुने कभी? Kaizen is such, but smaller improvements. We are not targeting a drastic improvement as such, guys, in the cost of the product. We are targeting smaller. You give the employees a target of 0.1% cost reduction in 1 month. They will think of ways of reducing the cost by 0.1%. But imagine if you implement that 0.1% over 12 months, you're reducing your cost by 1.2%. You directly give them a target of 1.2%, that might not be possible. You giving them a target of 0.1% for 12 months, definitely possible. That is Kaizen costing. Are you getting it? Yes or no, beta? These are the objectives. Someone spoke about cost reduction in this also. And the last one, beta, is assisting the management in decision making. Are we all clear about this? Open your notebooks, guys. Let's write a little. You're all supposed to maintain different notebooks as such, guys, for different subjects. ठीक है? Not maintain one notebook for all the papers. अगर नहीं लाए, रफ में लिखो अभी, बाद में फैन नोट्स बनाओ, जो भी करना है करो. Heading, guys, is Introduction to Cost and Management Accounting. Introduction to Cost and Management Accounting. लिख लिए बेटा सब लोग? Write down. Cost is the total expenditure. Cost is the total expenditure. Total expenditure attributable to a product or a service. Attributable to a product. Total expenditure attributable to a product, service, department, or a process, department or a process. Department or a process. It should include all the expenses. It should include all the expenses. It should include all the expenses, irrespective of irrespective of irrespective of the nature of expenditure. It should include all the expenses irrespective of the nature of expenditure. Next. Costing is the process of, next line, costing is the process of ascertainment of cost. Costing is the process of ascertainment of cost. Process of ascertainment of cost. It can be for the end product or service. It can be for the end product or service. It can be for the end product or service, or an intermediate product, or an intermediate product. It can be for the end product or service, or an intermediate product. Next line. Cost object. Cost object. Cost object is the product, service, department, is the product or service or department, is the product or service or department, product or service or department for which the cost is being ascertained, for which the cost is being ascertained, for which the cost is being ascertained. Cost is being ascertained. Example. Example. For a hospital, it can be. Example. For a hospital, it can be patient, or procedure. It can be patient or procedure or a room. So you go to a hospital, beta, they'll tell you that this room is going to cost you so much. This particular surgery is going to cost so much. Don't they have costing as such, beta, done for every aspect separately? If a doctor is visiting the room as such, beta, his charge will be included separately. So the cost object can be anything here. It need not be the final patient. समझ में आ रहा है? So cost object, beta, for a hospital can be patient, it can be a procedure, it can be a room. Next. For power generation companies, for power generation companies, cost object will be electricity. Cost object will be electricity. For power generation companies, cost object will be electricity. For an IT company, it can be an employee or a project. For an IT company, it can be an employee or a project. It can be an employee or a project. So yeah, beta थोड़ी देर. So it can be an employee or a project. Next line guys. क्या क्या पढ़ा दिया था मैं? Cost, costing, cost of that on. Cost unit. Cost unit. Cost unit is a unit of measurement. Cost unit is the unit of measurement. Is the unit of measurement to measure the expenditure incurred. Unit of measurement to measure the expenditure incurred. To measure the expenditure incurred. If there's only a single cost unit, if there is only a single cost unit, if there is only a single cost unit, it will be termed as a simple cost unit. It will be termed as a simple cost unit. Simple cost unit. Next line. A composite cost unit is where we have composite cost unit is a combination of composite cost unit. Composite cost unit is a combination of two or more cost units. Combination of two or more cost units. So what are the examples of simple cost unit? कुछ भी बोलो बेटा. हॉस्पिटल में आउट पेशेंट अगर है तो per patient, it's a simple cost unit. There's only one cost unit. If it is cement beta, it can be per kg or per ton, yes or no, or per bag, जो भी है. If it is vehicles के साथ बेटा, it will be per unit. Composite cost unit, inpatient अगर है, it will be per bed per day. If it is transportation as such guys, it can be per passenger per kilometer. Human resources guys, per person per hour. Human resources, it is per person per hour. Done with it? What's your name? Bhavya. तेरा दोस्त है हीरो. But you have this policy of not sitting next to friends, no? Because they disturb you. ये बात नहीं करता है क्योंकि सिर्फ सोते रहता है. सुन रहे हो ना? Yes, but our next unit cost. What is unit cost? The cost per unit. Cost per unit guys of the cost object. Unit cost guys is the cost per unit of the cost object. Branches of accounting. Financial accounting. It deals with accounting. It deals with accounting of financial transactions. It deals with accounting of financial transactions. It deals with accounting of financial transactions. Accounting of financial transactions. To ascertain the financial performance and position. To ascertain the financial performance and position. To ascertain the financial performance and position. Financial performance and position. Cost accounting. Cost accounting. Cost accounting deals with cost accounting deals with cost accounting deals with maintenance of cost records, maintenance of cost records, maintenance of cost records for the purpose of maintenance of cost records for the purpose of ascertainment of cost, for the purpose of ascertainment of cost and cost reporting, for the purpose of ascertainment of cost and cost reporting and cost reporting. लास्ट वाला क्या था बेटा? मैनेजमेंट अकाउंटिंग. मैनेजमेंट अकाउंटिंग. It is a use of cost records, financial records. आज फर्स्ट डे बोल के सब लोग मंदिर मंदिर जाके आए. हाँ, भगवान पास करा दे बोल के. हाँ, नो, रोज जाते हैं. It is a use of cost records and financial records. Use of cost records, financial records, budgets. Use of cost records, financial records, budgets for the purpose of decision making. For the purpose of decision making. For the purpose of decision making. Objectives of cost accounting. What are the 5 points that we have learned? Objectives of cost accounting, guys. The first one is ascertainment of cost. That is explanation zarurat nahi hai beta. Next one is what? Determination of selling price and profitability. Selling price and profitability. Determination of selling price and profitability, guys. The next one beta is cost control. कॉस्ट कंट्रोल के लिए एक्सप्लेनेशन ज़रूरत है. So cost control, guys, involves 4 steps that they've given. First one beta is standards, or you can say targets, are set for each element of cost. कितना incur करना है, that is what we set a target for. Then guys, what do? You measure the actual performance. How much did you incur? And then you compare those actuals with, you compare the actuals better with standards, and then you analyze the deviations or analyze the variances. Analysis of variances. So the intent beta is to ensure, intent is to ensure that the actuals incurred are within the target set. Actuals incurred are within the targets set. Under cost control, you set standards or targets for each element of cost. You measure the actual performance, you compare actuals with standards, and then you analyze the variances. Variance analysis obviously is important so that you do not end up repeating the same mistakes again. Your intent is to ensure, guys, that the actuals incurred are within the targets set. Are we all done with this? Now, guys, this can have a negative impact on what? Right on. Cost control, guys, can impact the quality of the product. The quality of the product. As companies can resort to cheaper materials, or employees might manufacture defective products. Employees can manufacture defective products. Cost control can impact the quality of the product as companies can resort to cheaper materials, guys, or employees can manufacture defective products. 12:30 बजे नींद आ रही तुम लोग को, बोले तो तुम महान हो यार. We take a nap every day in the afternoon like a old, huh? बाकी के लोगों में आंखों में बेटा नींद गई है. What is cost reduction, guys? It is improvement in the cost to be incurred on a per unit basis. Did I tell you? How will you remember it? Cost reduction involves questioning the targets. Cost reduction beta is reducing the target itself. So you will undertake value analysis. Value analysis में क्या है बेटा? Value added activities and non-value added activities. What will you do with non-value added activities? Eliminate. Value added activities क्या करोगे? To be performed? हाँ, to be performed in a better manner. And finally, beta, cost accounting helps in decision making. It becomes a base for management accounting. Are we all done? Any doubt in this, guys? The next topic that we have beta is something called as a responsibility center. लिखे ये या लिखना बाकी है? बाकी है, जल्दी लिख बेटा फिर. बैग रख लो रे नीचे कॉर्नर में, ऐसे रख के. ठीक है वैसे. दोस्त है तेरा. Are we done? क्या लिख रहे कि भाई लोग ये लोग? हो गया? आई लिख खत्म तो कर। अब हो गया? तू बोल बेटा, व्हाट इज रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी सेंटर? सेंटर ये याद नहीं है, पढ़ा है कब मैं बेटा? एटलीस्ट आंसर प्रॉपरली नो। याद नहीं है मतलब क्या बेटा? डिड आई टीज? हाँ, नहीं मालूम। वेरी गुड। क्या हुआ आज? वो कोल्ड की दवाई नहीं लिया? सोया नहीं? 2 घंटे हो गए। ही केम एट 7 in the morning. ग्रुप में मैसेज नहीं देखा था? हाँ। All right, guys. Anyone else, beta? An organization, guys, is segregated either on the basis of functions that they perform, or it is segregated on the basis of product lines. You'll be learning more about this under strategic management. There is divisional form of organizations as such, guys, wherein there will be different divisions as such, beta, related to each product line, or it can be based on functions or activities. There's a manufacturing division, there is a selling and distribution department, there is an administrative department. That manufacturing department will take care of all the products. Usually it will be product wise division in an organization and not activity wise. They say to the CEO of the organization as such, beta, different product heads will be reporting. There is one product line as such, beta. Let's say they are into hotel business as such, guys, they're into telecom business, they're into petrochemical business. So different product lines will have their respective heads. Under each of these product lines as such, beta, you will have a manufacturing department, you will have a selling and distribution department, you will have an admin department, you will have, and there can be certain common, just say human resource department might be common to all of them. There can be few activities as such, guys, that are common for all of them. Otherwise it is product wise division. Or another organization, beta, can be wherein activities are first divided on the basis of functions. You have a manufacturing head, that manufacturing head is taking care of all the products. समझ में आ रहा है क्या बोल रहा हूं? There's a selling and distribution department that is taking care of all the products. This is classification on the basis of functions or activities, and this is classification on the basis of different product lines. The whole objective of dividing, this is organizational structure. The whole point in having a clear organizational structure is to know who's responsible for what. If this clear cut demarcation, if you do not clearly delegate who's responsible for what, beta, things will never be done. समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? Let's say that I give a task as such, guys, to 5 people. None of them do it. They come up with an excuse. मेरे को लगा सर आप इसको बोले ये करके आएगा बोल के, वो बोल रहा है नहीं मेरे को लगा ये करेगा, मेरे को बोल रहा है वो करेगा. Is it possible in an organization? Definitely yes. To ensure that things move smoothly as such, beta, every organization will have a clear-cut delegation of responsibilities. This is where the word responsibility center comes into picture. Why is it very important as such, beta, to know who's responsible for what? It is also to measure their performance. If you would want to know how a specific department or how an individual has performed, first know what are they responsible for. Only then you will know how should we measure their performance. You cannot go and ask the manufacturing department as to why the profitability of the product is lower. हंसेगा वो तुम्हारे पे. He'll say ask me questions about manufacturing costs. You cannot ask me questions about the profitability of the product. You want to talk about profitability of the product, जाके strategy head को पूछो या फिर selling and department distribution वाले को पूछो. They are the ones who are fixing the selling price at which the product should be sold. We are the ones who will decide what is the manufacturing cost that we should be incurring. Are you clear about this? So for this performance measurement, you will have to divide the organization into different types of responsibility centers. There is something called as a cost center, there is a revenue center, there is a profit center, and an investment center. Very important. A cost center, guys, is only responsible for the expenses that will be incurred in their department or under them. Just say a manufacturing department is usually a cost center. They will never be responsible for the amount of revenue that the organization is generating. You can never question them on the amount of revenue. A research and development department is a cost center. They will only be responsible for the amount of money that is being incurred in their department. Are you all getting the point? If they are responsible only for the amount of money that is being spent, it becomes a cost center. If a particular department is responsible only for the amount of revenues that they are generating, but not responsible for the amount of expenses that are incurring, it will become a revenue center. This is sales department, guys, are only responsible for bringing in additional revenues to the organization. It becomes a revenue center. There might be minor expenses incurred, but then those are negligible. If a department is responsible for both cost as well as the amount of revenues that they are realizing, then it becomes a profit center. Just say you have divided your organization into different product lines. There is one person who's heading, let's say, telecom sector. You cannot term that department better to be only a cost center or a revenue center. Won't that become your profit center? That department head cannot say that I'm not responsible for revenues or I'm not responsible for cost. He will be responsible for both the aspects. So that becomes a profit center. If the performance of a department depends on the amount of investment that you make in that department, then it becomes an investment center. There are capital intensive businesses, guys, where the amount of profits generated will depend on the amount of capital introduced. It is also similar to a profit center, but you will not be able to evaluate the performance on that on the basis of absolute amount of profit. Let's say there is department 1 that has generated a profit. Department 1 that has generated a profit of 100 crores. That is department 2 that has generated a profit of 1000 crores. तुम लोग जाके department 2 को शाबाश, you've generated 1000 crores. Department 1 बेवकूफ, you've generated only 100 crores. ऐसे बोल सकते? अब भी मैं बोला बोल के नहीं बोल सकते. If they're all profit centers, you can directly evaluate their performance on the amount of absolute profits. But what if their profits generated depends on the amount of investment? The investment made in department 1 is 500 crores. The investment made in department 2 is 20,000 crores. Profit as a percentage of investment here is 20%. Profit as a percentage of investment here is 5%. So if the amount of profit that is generated depends on the amount of investments that we make in that department, you should be classifying them as what? An investment center. Are you all understanding this? For a hospital as such, guys, diagnostics department is a profit center. ठीक है? Outpatient, उनका एक अलग profit center. They will divide the different departments as such, guys. Neuro is a separate profit center. They will evaluate the profitability of all the specialties at the year end. कि कितना कौन सा department कितना profit लेके आ रहा है. Ultimately, that is what they will evaluate the performance on. Are we clear about this or no? So if they are responsible for cost center. If they are responsible only for revenues, then it will become a revenue center. But this will all depend on the responsibility that has been delegated. If it is a cost center, you evaluate their performance on the basis of cost incurred. If it's a revenue center, you evaluate their performance on the basis of revenues that they are generating. You talk about a relationship manager working in a banking sector, beta, he will be a revenue center. उसका काम एक ही है, get more business to the organization. You talk about an wealth manager as such, guys, there are few people who lead this performance portfolio management services. ठीक है, जैसे अभी परसों ही कोई बोल रहा था that they are looking for an employee for a wealth management company as such, better. The salary depends beyond a certain stage. The salary depends on the amount of assets that you manage. So there's one employee who's managing assets worth 100 crores. The salary would be roughly about 60 lakhs. If you're managing assets worth 500 crores, you get a fixed pay of 1.2 crores. You're managing more than that, your pay increases. Plus there is a variable component. Because beyond a certain level, in these organizations, it only depends on how much business are you bringing. Ab jaise guys, if you talk about a CA firm, there will be tax department, there will be audit department, there will be consultancy department. Each of these departments will be cost centers, profit centers, or revenue centers. Profit centers. It is incorrect to say revenue center, beta. The partner of tax department will be evaluated on the basis of expenditure that is incurred under that department as well as the amount of revenues that they are bringing in. Are you getting the point here? Expenditure is also equally important. So they will all be functioning as profit centers. They will not be functioning as revenue or only as cost centers. ये अलग बात है. For the purpose of promotion in the organization beyond a particular level, जैसे once you reach senior manager, if you want to become director, it will all depend on how much business are you getting to the organization. You get a new bigger client, you get promoted faster. You get even more clients, you become partner of the firm. Are we clear about this? Business development becomes more important beyond a certain level rather than execution of work. तो like जो काम करना है वो कर लेंगे नए qualified जो आ रहे हैं, तुम और धंधा लेके आओ business के लिए. But are we all clear about this? इसमें भी बेटा cost centers में भी there are two categories called as a standard cost center and a discretionary cost center. A standard cost center is one where there is a clear cut relationship between the amount of output that is manufactured and the amount of cost that you incur. जैसे a manufacturing department is a standard cost center. If they manufacture 100 units, I will be able to calculate what is the expected cost that they were supposed to incur for those 100 units. I can compare that cost with the actual cost that they are incurring. There is a relationship between input and output. There are certain cost centers that are discretionary cost centers. There will be no relation between the input and the advertisement department. You cannot say that if there are 1000 units manufactured, my advertisement expenditure should be so much. See, whether the advertisements are effective or not, whether revenue is being generated or not, guys, is not in our hands. But advertisement department, research and development department as such, guys, becomes discretionary cost centers. There is no relation between the amount of cost that you incur and the total output that is being manufactured. So, समझ में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? Why is it again important to classify them as discretionary and standard cost center? बस वही सन्नाटा. हाँ, थोड़े बच्चों को रियलाइज भी नहीं हुआ कि क्वेश्चन पूछा. Why is it important, guys, to divide the cost centers into standard cost center and discretionary cost centers? हाँ, कुछ भी बोला ना बेटा, परफॉर्मेंस इवैल्यूएशन बोल दो. हाँ, you cannot question, you cannot evaluate their performance. How to evaluate the performance will depend on what is resulting in that cost being incurred. If you know the cause and effect relationship, only then you will be able to evaluate their performance. Under cost centers also as such better, there can be different departmental heads. This production department will not be responsible for raw material pricing. You will go and ask purchase manager. Purchase manager is the one who is responsible for at what price is the raw material being procured. Production manager will only be responsible for the remaining cost that is being incurred. उसमें भी थोड़े कंट्रोलेबल कॉस्ट रहेंगे, अनकंट्रोलेबल कॉस्ट रहेंगे. जैसे फैक्ट्री रेंट इज ऑलरेडी डिटरमाइंड. He'll be like, मैं क्या करूँ उसमें? You guys have said there, you've determined the total amount of factory rent to be incurred. He cannot influence that amount. So you should know what is controllable and what is uncontrollable to evaluate the performances. ये responsibility center समझ में आया सबको? Yes or no? Any doubt in this? Understood what are we talking about? They've given an example better. They say that the ticketing office at a railway station, will it be a cost center, revenue center, guys, or will it be a profit center? Revenue center. Why are they responsible about the cost that is being incurred, guys, in executing the service? उनका काम है tickets बेचो, ऐसे लेके आओ. That's it. There are different, say guys, movie centers as such better, or Inox or of PVR as such, guys. Will each of that center act as a profit center or as a cost center? Profit center. When you evaluate the profitability of each cinema theater as such better, you will want to know what is the amount of revenues that the theater is generating and what is the amount of cost that we are incurring. Are we all clear about responsibility centers? क्या क्या पढ़े बेटा? The first thing that we have read today is cost. What is cost? The total expenditure that we incur on a product as such better or a service is called as cost. What is costing? The process of ascertainment of cost is called as costing. What is cost object? The product or the service for which the cost is being determined is called as cost object. What is cost unit? The unit of measurement, guys, used to express cost is called as your cost unit. It can either be a simple cost unit or it can be a composite cost unit. A simple cost unit is one that has only a single unit of measurement. Composite cost unit is a combination of two or more cost units. Unit cost is the cost that you incur on a per unit basis. The three branches of accounting are financial accounting, cost accounting and management. इसके अलावा भी है बेटा, तुम लोग जो पढ़ते हैं social accounting, human resource accounting, जरूरत नहीं है. Just talk about the three basic branches here. Financial accounting deals with financial records for determine the financial performance and position. Cost accounting for ascertainment of cost. Management accounting for the purpose of decision making. What are the objectives of cost accounting? Ascertainment of cost, determination of selling price and profitability. Next, cost control and cost reduction. And the final one, बेटा व्यास तेरे बाजू अभिषेक ही ने. हाँ, तेरा नाम क्या पूरा? अभिषेक व्यास only, no? तेरे बाजू वाला का नाम भूल गया यार मैं, तारुण, टीका लगा के बोलूँ क्या रिवाइज कराना है बोल के? टीका लगा के बोलूँ रिवाइज करना है बोल के? When I'm revising something as such, beta, please do not wait that he will first ask me specifically that I have to revise. Only then I will. Otherwise, why should I? Because if you are not revising, you will not be there in the class. Are we very clear about it? Now, guys, so that is the objectives of cost accounting. After that, beta, we did responsibility centers. Responsibility centers, guys, is all about knowing which department is responsible for what, so that performance evaluation can be done, and also better decisions. You can measure the performance and take decision whether that particular department should be continued or discontinued. For this purpose, we divide responsibility centers into 4 categories: cost centers, revenue centers, profit centers, and investment centers. Cost centers are further segregated into standard cost center and discretionary cost center. लिखो बेटा सारी reading. Responsibility centers. It's 12:45, guys. मेरे को पूछो ना यार, बोलता हूँ ना। हल्लू से चुपके से क्या देख रहे टाइम? एसी रिमोट नहीं है बेटा। Why did you take the remote? विकास, तू पूछा क्यों विकास को? रीत तेरे को पूछा, तू विकास को पूछा? ये साला मेंटल टेस्ट लेना इन लोग का। मेंटल एज 3 disqualified. Write down, guys, responsibility centers. An organization will be structured either on the basis of product lines, will be structured either on the basis of product lines or on the basis of the functions undertaken, or on the basis of functions undertaken. For smooth functioning of the organization, for smooth functioning of the organization, responsibilities are delegated to different departments. Responsibilities are delegated to different departments or individuals. To different departments or individuals. Such departments or individuals are termed as responsibility centers. Such departments or individuals are termed as responsibility centers. Responsibility centers. They're classified as follows. First one, cost center. ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी सेंटर वाला बहुत बार एग्जाम में आ चुका है बेटा. कॉस्ट कंट्रोल, कॉस्ट रिडक्शन, responsibility centers, cost unit. All of these have come multiple times in the examination. Cost center, first वाला बेटा cost center. They're responsible only for the cost incurred in their department. Responsible only for the cost incurred in their department. cost incurred in their department. And hence performance will be evaluated. And hence performance will be evaluated. Performance will be evaluated by comparing the actual cost incurred with. Performance will be evaluated by comparing the actual cost incurred with. Actual cost incurred with the standard or budgeted cost. Performance will be evaluated by comparing the actual cost incurred. By comparing the actual cost incurred with standard or budgeted cost. With standard or budgeted cost. They're further classified as standard or budgeted cost बेटा उसके बाद में they're further classified as sub point 1 standard cost center. Standard cost center. What's a standard cost center? Lakshita. Standard cost center beta लिखो. Relationship exists between the cost incurred and the output manufactured. A relationship exists between the cost incurred and the output. Cost incurred and the output. A relationship exists between the cost incurred and the output. Example, production department. Example, production department. Purchase department. Production department. Purchase department. Purchase department. Next sub point 2, discretionary cost center. This is all under the first point only बेटा. Cost center के नीचे ही अपन standard cost center के बाद में discretionary cost center. Discretionary cost center. There is no relation between the cost incurred and the output. There is no relation between the cost incurred and the output. No relation between the cost incurred and the output. Or the output cannot be measured. No relation between the cost incurred and the output, or the output cannot be measured. The output cannot be measured. Example, क्या था बेटा? Advertisement department, research and development. Advertisement, research and development. ये हो गया कॉस्ट सेंटर बेटा. नेक्स्ट वन रेवेन्यू सेंटर. Revenue center. They're responsible only for. They are responsible only for the revenues generated. Responsible only for the revenues generated. एग्जाम्पल, टिकटिंग काउंटर. वो इसलिए लिखा रहा हूँ क्योंकि वो एग्जाम में भी यूज करे सो बेटा. टिकटिंग काउंटर. सेल्स डिपार्टमेंट. ticketing counter, sales department. Performance is evaluated. Performance is evaluated. Performance is evaluated by comparing. Performance is evaluated by comparing. By comparing actual sales with budgeted sales. Actual sales with budgeted sales. Performance is evaluated by comparing actual sales with budgeted sales. Next beta, third point, profit center. The department is responsible for both revenues and cost. The department is responsible for both revenues and cost. Revenues and cost. Example, different movie centers of Inox. Different movie centers of Inox. Why? How are they responsible for? Which one? There's also cost incurred in respect of operating each movie theater, no? You will not be like, we will only generate revenue for you. Will a movie center be, if you're running a movie center, will there be cost incurred? You will pay rent. Yes or no? So it is not just about the revenue that you collect from a particular center, it is also about the total expenditure that you are incurring. I just say if there are different branches of demand, you will not classify them as revenue centers. You will classify them as, it is not just about the revenue that they're collecting, it is also about the cost that you're incurring in realizing those revenues. So क्या लिखे बेटा, different movie centers of Inox will become a profit center. Last वाला guys, investment center. Investment center. Investment center. If the businesses are capital intensive, if the businesses are capital intensive, performance should be evaluated on the basis of return on investment. Performance should be evaluated on the basis of return on investment. Performance should be evaluated on the basis of return on investment. Return on investment. Rather than absolute profits. Performance should be evaluated on the basis of return on investment rather than absolute profits. ये holding company beta, whenever they take decision about how should the capital be allocated among different businesses, they take decision on the basis of ROI. They do not take a decision on the basis of absolute amount of profits, because capital will always be a limiting factor. So they will want to know which business is capable of generating how much return for every rupee of capital that they put in there. The businesses that generate a higher ROI obviously will get a higher allocation of capital. The businesses that are not doing so well will get a lower allocation. If they have a growth potential, then of course, yes, but they will be given a higher amount of capital. But if they do not have growth potential, the businesses are not doing so well, then obviously the capital that will be allocated to those businesses also will reduce. Are we clear about this? That's it for this class of costing beta. You guys have a break now. The break will be for about 30-35 minutes, and then I'll start the next session. Online students, end of the session, a message will be sent in the group beta whenever the next class starts. Bye bye.